let's talk about how to get started. A lot of times you guys will catch me on Facebook or TikTok or somewhere, and it's just like, I love the method, but how do I get started? It's pretty simple. First step, go ahead and pull your last 2 to 3 months bank statements, print them out, grab you a set of highlighters, get you at least 4 to 5 different colors. And you want to go through those bank statements and highlight the categories, meaning your eating, your bills, your shopping, anything. So, right, you like your groceries. If you eat out a lot and you buy groceries, those need to be two separate categories. If you're spending, you want that to be a separate category. You need to have a category for things that you need. So bills and things that like you can't live without. You need a category for all those things. You want to categorize them, and then you want to total them out for each month. And then you want to evaluate that spending. So you want to look at it and say, okay, well, January I spent 400 on groceries. February I spent 3. March I spent 6. And see what the difference is. Is it inflation? Because obviously groceries are heavily impacting most of our budgets right now. Or were you overspending? Right? And so then the next step, I'm going to head over to my iPad to show you that. Okay, and so the next step is to set goals for your upcoming month. So let's say last month in groceries, and on average, you've been spending about $700 per month on groceries, right? Okay, and so typically a good rule of thumb is to try to cut back 20%. So grab you a calculator, and whatever your amount is, determine what 20% of it is. For this particular example, it's $120. So what you want to do is try to cut back 20%. That's usually pretty realistic for most people. And in this example, that would be about $580. So for this month, you want your food budget to be $580. You can break that down into a weekly pay, if you're a bi-weekly paid person, or if you are monthly paid, you can just leave it as it is, right? So if you can stick to that, you can cut out on a few name brand items, plan meals a little bit better so you're not overspending in the grocery store, then you'd be able to save $120. And so, how the method works for you and how you're able to start paying off debt with this method is once you've got your budget in a good place where, okay, I can spend 580 a month and actually I can go lower, whatever the case may be, you take this extra money that you were spending, and this then goes towards your debt, your investing, or your savings. That's where the free in essence money comes from, is because we're overspending in so many categories. For so many people, it's eating. It's typically not the grocery bill, it's more than likely the eating out bill. But with the way groceries are going, I decided to choose groceries. So you want to make sure you stay within the 10 to 20% range when you are trying to cut back. But this is a good way to create those variable expenses, and a good way to get started with your budget. The very first step is always to set up bills and then variable expenses. So things like gas, groceries, spending, miscellaneous, and household. And you should have categories for all of those because you highlighted them on your bank statement. And so you want to go through the same way we went through and looked at groceries, said, okay, on average, we're spending $700. Let's cut back 20%. That's $120. And so let's say we're going to try to spend $580 this month on groceries. Do the same thing for spending, for your miscellaneous funds, for your household, for your gas, for your kids, whatever your expenses may be. And that's the very first step. Honestly, variable spending, if you can get that under control, it is the one thing that will change your financial life. Once you are able to cut back and get your budget to a healthy place, you free up so much money. And you really can get a bunch of debt paid off and get a bunch of money saved, okay? For the next step, we have gone ahead and figured out our variable expenses. The next thing is to go ahead and create yourself some sinking funds. There is no set way to do this. You just really need to sit back, maybe look over your bank statements, and find some things that are pretty costly to you, or think of things that when they come up, it's kind of like, oh, I wish I had the money for that. One thing to think of is your insurance deductible, right? Typically, we don't plan for an accident, but then we have this huge deductible we have to pay, even if it's only, $200 or $500. That could be a sinking fund. We have cars, they need maintenance. You could have a car maintenance sinking fund, so that money's there when it's time for your oil change or rotate your tires. You could create one for your kids, for their birthdays, for holidays, anything you can think of in your life that when it comes, you're like, oh, God, I wish I had the money put away for this. Create a sinking fund. After that, you can pretty much set up your budget according to your debt and savings goals. So we have our income. You need to choose how to pay your bills. We'll circle back to that. You want to set up your cash envelopes, which is your day-to-day spending, which if you don't use cash for anything else, I recommend using it for your variable expenses. Get you a little cash wallet and carry that money with you. It really helps you to cut back on overspending, whether that comes to eating and shopping, gassing up your car, all those things. It really helps you to pull back the reins on that, okay? So here we go. Income, bills, we'll circle back to that. Variable expenses, sinking funds, then you address your debt and your savings. And so that's completely personal. Pay off your debt however you care to. I do have a video on the debt snowball method, but everybody's debt situation is different. And then you want to contribute to savings. It doesn't necessarily have to be a savings challenge. It can just be an emergency fund. But everybody needs some type of savings, whether that's just a generic savings or something, because life happens to everybody. So you at least need to plan for an emergency fund. Start with $1,000. And once you've reached that, set for 1 month's expenses, and then on to 3 months and 6 months and so on. So in the event that life happens, because life be lifing, you'll be covered. Okay, so let's circle back to bills. So I personally cash stuff my bills, but I am 1 month ahead on bills. I have another video on that one. It'll be up there if you need to get a link to that. So I stuff my bills throughout the month, meaning with every check I pull the bill money throughout the month, and on the first of the following month I deposit the money into my bank account and all of my bills auto draft as normal. Again, I'm able to do this because I am 1 month ahead on all my bills. Meaning this current month, even though I am cash stuffing with every check, my bill binder, the bill money's already in the bank. So all of September's bills, which is the month we're currently in, are already being auto drafted. On October 1st, I'll go deposit all the money I saved in September and it will cover October's bills, right? And I'm going to continue cash stuffing. If that's too much for you, girl, I'm not going back and forth to the bank that much. That's fine. If you prefer to leave your bills in the bank and just flat out let them not overdraft, auto draft out of your account, golden. Just try to track it on paper so that you can visually see the numbers and make sure that you're not overspending or paying for subscriptions twice or paying for anything that you're not currently using, and keep track with running balances, that type of stuff. Just write it out. But if you want to leave it in the bank, I support that. Do what works best for you and your personal finances, okay? So, income on down, we want to pay bills next. Then we want to contribute money to our variable expenses, gas, groceries, spending, eating out, that kind of thing. And then we want to move over to either adding money to sinking funds, to debt, or to savings. If you're someone who is drowning in debt, I can't see the end of the road, you may want to prioritize debt first, right? I always recommend having an emergency fund first, but again, personal preference. So you want to do one of those three things next. So you want to pay off debt, you want to add some to savings, and whatever is left, throw it in your sinking funds. That's it. That's the basics. And there is no set calculation I can give you to get the correct numbers, because only you know what you really need every week. Pardon the fly. But every week, you need to be using that weekly check-in within your budget planner so that you can see how much you're spending in each fund, and you can kind of adjust your budget every month until you get it to a place where it's like, okay, this is right. I don't have too much. I don't have a little. I'm able to survive off of this. I'm being able to make progress. I'm seeing growth within my savings. I'm seeing debt being paid down. It's all an adjustment, and you really just have to do trial and error for a few weeks, sometimes even a month or so, until you get those numbers right.